Actually, I've had many books here. The books are usually in the cupboard or whatever, right? This book is always by my bed and it never shifts.
You connected with God through the book. And this connection somehow is precious for you. It is not precious for all people. Maybe out of 100 people who received the book, only 1 people connect with it. Why the 99 people are not able to connect with it? A little bit of explanation I can give, which itself is not an answer. But what we have as a human, which I also have written probably in the book, is basically as a human we have 5 things with us. The first thing that we have is we have a physical body. The second thing we have is what is known as the mind. The third thing we have is what is known as the personality. So body, mind, personality is the 3 things. Now I say total 5 things. The fourth thing that we have is the energy body. And the fifth thing that we have, some people assume it is the soul, but actually it is not the soul, it is the spirit. So then people ask, then where is soul? Because everyone assumes the soul is within me. And if the soul goes out of my body, that means I am going to die. Or when I die, the soul leaves the body. That is one of the assumptions people have. But God says your soul is never in your body, or maybe sometimes it is in your body, mostly not in your body, which means you don't need the soul in order to be alive.
You don't need the soul in order.
Yeah, you don't need the soul in order to be alive. You need the spirit in order to be alive. If spirit leaves your body, you will die. So soul and spirit are 2 different things. Now, just to give you an understanding of this thing, what is this spirit? Have you ever read anything about the Upanishads and all?
I did not read the Upanishads.
Okay. The Upanishad uses 2 words, and those 2 words are Brahman and Atman. So even if you have not read, these 2 words Upanishad uses. It says Brahman is the totality of the creation. Atman is an aspect of the Brahman which comes into the Jiva. Which means Atman goes into the virus, into the microorganism and into a human being. In between plant and animal, insect, everything.
In a form.
As spirit.
As spirit.
Now question that comes up is, what is this Brahman in the English language? It is known as the matrix. But what is matrix? Matrix is the mind of the king.
God's mind?
No. King's mind.
King's mind.
And who is king? So king is what we call as Mahadev in our culture. They call it Allah in the Islam. They call it Father in Christianity. They call it Jehovah in Judaism. They call it Vaheguru in Sikhism. They call it Ahura Mazda in Parsis. Different name, same individual. The one who is the king of our universe. So our universe has no God. It only has the king.
Brahman is the king.
Brahman is the mind of the king. And spirit, in our culture, we call it Ishwar or Ishwara. Some call it Prabhu. So, and then many people have confused as Atma and Atman to be same. They are not same. Atman is spirit, Atma is soul. So this whole thing about spirituality, this whole thing about the Upanishads, this whole thing about the Vedas, it appears to be a huge amount of knowledge, but it is not really a huge amount of knowledge. It can be brought down into one paragraph which would contain everything, and the rest of it, which appears to be knowledge, is nothing but a hypnotic effect appearing to be knowledge. So it is the mind of the king that creates the creation. It is the dream of the king that creates the creation. It is the will of the king that creates the creation. It is the intention of the king that creates creation. So this is how creation happened. But with what does king create the creation? So the book says that God gave the king total 8 things. 3 characteristics, sattva, rajas, tamas, and 5 elements, which is fire, water, earth, space, and what did I miss? Fire, water,
space, ether,
air,
and
okay.
earth.
So 5 elements and 3 qualities is what God gave as a building material. But God did not give these things as substance. God gave them as attributes.
Qualities or attributes?
No, attributes of the mind.
Oh, only the mind.
Only the mind.
It's not for the physical.
No, there is no physical thing that God gave. God only gave attributes in the mind of the king. And using these 8, the king dreams of the creation. But how does the creation become real? It is because the king can convince every jiva that it is experiencing the world as real. So this jiva could be cats and dogs, and this jiva could be the humans, and this jiva could be the microorganisms.
So you are saying that it could also be true that we are not alive right now.
We are not alive truly.
Truly.
We are appearing to be alive, and it appears to be real.
Yes.
We get that little facet every night when we sleep, and we
Exactly.
live in our own world, and then I'm a character in my own world. Right?
So I create myself, I create other characters, I create beautiful and very ugly situations, and it is as alive and as real and as solid and as substantive as the waking world.
This experience I've had, Pradip sir, where we really truly are dreaming up our reality, and at this time there could be multiple realities which could be happening.
Yes, because you are dreaming one reality,
Dreaming one.
I am dreaming one reality, and
Just hearing.
we are dreaming one reality,
Yes.
and then 7 billion humans are dreaming
Correct.
a totality of a reality. So every reality is a subset
Correct.
of a total dream.
Yes.
But basically this total dream also includes animals, plants, insects, microorganisms. And everything is being dreamt by the king. So the job of the king, it's not a job, but the time pass of the king is basically creation,
You said Parmeshwar.
Parmeshwar.
Parmeshwar. But what is the difference between Ishwar and Parmeshwar?
If there is an ocean and in that ocean rises a wave, this wave is the Ishwar and the ocean is the Parmeshwar. So that means one wave arose and it entered you and it made you come alive. Another wave arose, it entered me and it brought me alive. So what is the work of the spirit? That is a big question now. But before you understand the work of the spirit, you have to understand the work of the soul. The work of the soul is twofold. Number one, it has to write the story before a human is born, and it has to put the breath in the human when the human comes out of the womb. When the child is delivered, it has to put in the breath and it has to write the story, but the story is written energetically in a script. It has to be made alive. It is not soul's job, it is now spirit's job. Spirit reads the story and creates the body, mind, personality accordingly.
So the soul creates the story, but the soul is creating the story based on what the body is dreaming?
No, based on again the past karmic baggage.
Okay. Understood.
And no soul writes a story individually. It is written in a group, collectively, in which you are one story, your husband is one story, your friend is one story, your parents is one story, like that.
Yes.
So in the totality, and then this group story also gets interconnected with this group story. So at some point of time, maybe Ukraine and Russia are fighting, and there are two groups of humans entangling with each other in a certain way as the story wants. So everything I use, there is a totality and then there is a subset and subset of the subset, and then it keeps down till it comes to one individual, which we say as my story. So this is now the job of the spirit, first creating the body, mind, personality according to this story. Number two, it puts the life force into the body, mind, personality in order to animate the body, mind, personality, because it has to be animated. And depending on whether you need more life force or less life force, depending on the storyline, it gives you only that much life force. So some people can work for 48 hours non-stop and still be fresh, and another person works only for 1 hour and slumps.
That's the life energy.
Because the life force is less, they are huge. And what decides that? Again, storyline.
So whatever is required for the storyline, that much
only spirit is going to give. Now some people, it is written in the storyline, will be full of physical challenges.
Yeah.
So it keeps on manifesting those diseases.
Yes. Okay.
Some people, it has to be accidents. They keep on manifesting the accidents. Some people, they should be successful. It keeps on manifesting the success. Some people full of failures, keeps manifesting the failures. Anything written there, it manifests. Some people will be with a strong will. Some people with weak will. So if you remember, I asked you why someone can focus and why another person cannot focus. Again in the storyline.
But that's karmic, right? It's karma.
Based on karma, the storyline is written.
But is the storyline to overcome that, or is it that
you cannot overcome a storyline?
Oh, so you have to just...
Because all your thoughts, all your feelings, all your emotions are put into you. People say, no, they are my thoughts, I create them. So I tell them, fine, 24 hours. Can you ensure you will have only positive thoughts? Can you ensure that your mood will be high for 24 hours? If they are yours, you will be able to do it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And if they are not yours, you won't be able to do it. And that's the test, that whether they are yours or being put into you. Can you make yourself angry? You cannot. And then someone just touches some wound inside you and you burst out. Where from did this anger come? They say it is inside you. No, it was not inside you. It was given to you and manifested in you, and it showed up in reality.
But is the reaction coming because the person is assuming that it is him?
Not only that, but the person is programmed to react like that. Some people react very violently, some people react very in a subdued way. Some people go into a shell because of the reaction. Some people go out and kill because of the reaction. It's all part of the programming, part of the storyline, part of the way the intensity is put into the thoughts. Sometimes the thoughts are there but no intensity, which means no life force in the thoughts. Sometimes the thoughts have so huge life force that body gains huge strength and it can go out and kill someone. So in the end, there is no me So when I say that I am going to go to heaven or I am going to go to hell, I ask them, are you there to go to heaven? They say, of course I am. I said, fine, let's come back to 5 things that you are: body, mind, personality, energy body, and spirit. Can you give me number 6 that you are? There is no number 6. Now, if you are number 5, your body is going to be burnt, buried, whatever. After your body is gone, your mind will try to hold on to the story for some time, which means you will use one of your energy body, which is known as the astral body, in order to cling to people in your family, to the property, to the business, to whatever. If you cling for more number of days, you will become what is known as a ghost. But if you move in your onward journey towards the ancestral world, you are no more clinging and you are gone. Now you have multiple energy bodies, so 3 is most important.
That's pranamaya.
No, they only actually cover 2 energy bodies. Those 5 sheets covers only 2 energy bodies. So the second energy body is the mental energy body. This mental energy body gets transplanted into the next body. It carries the karmic baggage that the soul uses to write the new story. And the third energy body, which is known as the etheric energy body, this goes to the king, carrying all the negative thoughts, feelings and emotions, and this becomes the food for the king. So in the next birth, you are again given 2 new energy bodies, one astral and one
Mental.
etheric.
What about the mental?
The mental gets transplanted.
So the mental goes to the king.
No, it goes to the next body, next incarnation.
Oh, I see. Of you.
Yeah.
Of the same incarnation.
The next incarnation that the soul is creating. Because all these incarnations, same soul. If you have previously 50 lifetimes, the soul remains same for all the 50 lifetimes.
So Samira did all of that in technology. So her last job was working with YouTube's Swiss R&D team
Yes.
to generative AI. So where she can say, right, so the master can sit in Switzerland on the apps with the set of people next to him and house in the background, sunset time. Yes, she just has to feed it and it will create all of the imagery, the video and everything, right? And it looks pretty realistic, right? So just the script is becoming transformed into a... Right?
Actually, with AI now, you will be able to create much more real things than the reality of this space. Why? Because the number of pixels that you are able to concentrate, our eyes cannot capture them and process them in this world. But in the screen, when you bring it down in a very compact way, they are much more real. They get greater results. They have a greater impact, and that's why the virtual world is going to become more interesting than the real world. Not only because of the content, but because of the visual impact. So in the end,
What would be doing? I don't know what I will be doing, but
we are talking in general, not like you specifically. We are using certain scenarios of how life is shifting. And how life is shifting is basically we are going to have a body which is not going to be very, how I would say, participative in life. It's only this much portion is only that are going to participate in life. Basically only our nervous system. And the muscles are going to become weak day by day. And the brain or the nervous system is going to become more and more active day by day. And of course, you can make it hyperactive because you can create scenarios which can create dopamine, which can create the serotonin, which can create all the other hormones, endorphin, and you can make a person fall in love, and then that person has, so whatever those love hormones are there, whatever the stress hormones are there, everything can be created. And which means you can create experience where the person never leaves the couch and yet has gone through the forest, over the mountains, gone under the sea, every experience much more real.
But Pradip sir, here is my question. Just like the mental body, the physical body also stores memory, right? So shouldn't that also move along with the mind?
Actually, nothing stores memory.
Not the mind, not the body.
Nor the mind, nor the body, nor the personality. Everything is provided by the spirit depending on how much body, mind, personality needs in that moment for that event.
This is very different. So are you saying that we can't wish for the
You,
to be gone away from the mind and the body?
there is no memory. What you access as memory through those, what you use those electrical signals,
Yeah.
is basically only happening because spirit wants that to happen. Take a dead body, pass the same electrical circuits, give it the same stimulus, you don't get the same results. What is the difference between a dead body and a body that is alive? Only one thing, spirit.
So are you saying that people who are suffering from past memory and trauma,
There is no past. There is only now.
but the memory is
Even there is no
spirit?
past memory. The body doesn't store it, mind doesn't store it, personality doesn't store it. It is given in the moment, for the moment, in order to create that reality, trigger that reality, trigger that reactions, trigger those interactions.
How do we react? How do we not react and just
You
respond?
cannot.
We cannot.
But spirit says you can.
Yeah.
You see, the biggest hypnosis is we have free will, and there is no free will. And because the spirit wants us to believe we have free will, the spirit also gives us the impression that we are creating our present, we are creating our future, we are the captain of our ship, we can do what we want to do, we can make choices, we can decide, we can intend, we can enroll others into our projects. All these things are part of the hypnosis that the spirit gives.
But it's not.
But nothing is true because there is no reality, because everything is the dream of the king.
But can we co-create with the spirit?
You cannot.
We can't co-create.
You do not have anything to co-create with the spirit. Spirit's directives is very clear. Manifest the storyline.
But we could rewrite the storyline.
You cannot, because it is written by the soul, not by the character. The character just has to go through the motions. Become successful, become a failure. Become happy, become sad. Become healthy, become sick. Become knowledgeable, become stupid. Just all you will keep on going. In the end, what happens? In the end, only one thing happens. You are creating the food for the king. No matter what your storyline is, it only creates the food for the king. And the king dreams to create its food. King has two purposes of dreaming. Number one, to create the food, and number two, it enjoys dreaming, which means it enjoys creation.
How can the character experience go through this without the feeling of attachment and suffering?
It cannot.
Cannot.
Now you will ask me, but there are people who don't have any attachments. There are people who became spiritually enlightened. There are people who became so happy that we say they are in bliss. How did that happen? Again, come to that. So we have, I wouldn't take the names, we have people who have had great experiences and their followers try to go through the teachings of their gurus in order to have those great experiences, but the teacher never went through any of the spiritual practice to have that great experience.
Yes.
So why is the teacher telling the students that you can have the kind of experience and state that I have if you go through D? Because the spirit is making the guru to be a guru and keep on giving hope to the disciples. Guru has only one role, not really to guide anyone, but to sell a dream. There is no other role a guru has. And every guru you look at is selling some dream. Something they quote from their life. Quote means they say, I had this, I experienced this, I am now this, and you can have them. For that you need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But what about love? Some gurus don't quote anything except for teaching how to be loving and compassionate.
That is a big farce. Why it is a big farce? You cannot fall in love till that component is put in you.
Yeah.
And you can easily fall out of love when that component is removed from you. It's just a component. We call it feelings.
But could you not alter that with the elements? Because
You cannot. Now the scientists are saying through injections or chemical interventions, we can create any experience. We can make you fall in love, we can make you happy, we can make you blissful, we can make you energetic, we can create any experience that you want. It's only a matter of tweaking the chemicals which will tweak your hormonal secretions in the correct sequence that will create that experience.
yeah, Pradip sir, no, actually not chemical reactions, but you said about eight attributes, right? The 8 attributes determine how I am, right? It's not in the body, but it's attributes.
I said the 8 attributes are in the mind of the king, but you are assuming that your body is made of fire,
Yeah.
air, water, and all these things.
I'm assuming.
You are assuming that. But God never gave it as a substance. How can it show up as a substance? And the king cannot create those attributes as real outside of his mind. The king can dream the combination of those 8 attributes. It cannot create that as real. Now that also scientists are now saying. In the end, when they have split the atom, they find there is nothing. Then they are still hoping there is a building material. Whether they call it boson or they call it God particle or they call it any other name, but they are still hoping there has to be a particle. Otherwise this universe cannot be. So they still cannot accept that no, there is no particle. There is only a dream. But they say no, there has to be a particle. And they are kind of sending these particles through those reactors and they are blasting it and they are doing all kind of experiments, and they suddenly say we are able to locate that particle, but for a very brief second. They can't hold on to a particle for a long time, which means they are still under an assumption that there is a particle. Maybe a particle showed up with the characteristics of a particle, but it did not live. But we are living. How do you correlate to?
So the 8 attributes in the mind of the king, that does not solidify as in.
No, it creates nothing as solid.
Oh, I see. It just stays. So it stays, that's just attributes in the mind of the king.
Yes, it stays in the dream, and the king passes a portion of that dream through the spirit into the body-mind organism of the human, where the human is now dreaming that the spirit wants us to dream.
But the attributes don't get passed on.
The attributes get passed on as a part of the dream sequence, not as a part of a substance.
So it is a farce then where the gurus say that by cleaning the 5 elements.
Yes, when the guru says that if you go through all kind of purification, you will come to a place where I am, but that is not true. Most of the gurus who have enlightening experience never went through any purification. Just as a part of their normal day-to-day living, they became enlightened.
So it was the storyline.
Exactly. Now God says you will only become enlightened if it is pre-written in the storyline. If it is not pre-written, neither you will have awakening nor you will have enlightenment. Awakening is the first stage, enlightenment is the second stage. Awakening means you are now desireless. So you have become an observer of life. Enlightenment means in the awakening you are still observing the world but not getting entangled with the world. But when you become enlightened, you are so blissful, you want to merge into that bliss and you are no more interested in the world. And because you are no more interested in the world, there is nothing that can bring you back into the world in the next incarnation. So now we say moksha or liberation has happened.
So I guess I'll only talk about my experience. I'm sure there are a lot of people. I've had intellectually or experientially, I have had this experience of understanding how we come up from the formless to the form, and how the mind is, when the mind splits from the Brahman or Atman, it is nothing but pure eternal consciousness.
No, it is only mind. There is no consciousness in this universe. This word consciousness has not been understood. They assumed awareness to be consciousness. But awareness is an aspect of the spirit that shows up in the mind. Which means right now I am aware that you are. But this awareness can expand. If your first energy body gets activated, you are now in peace. Why you are in peace? Because you are now having no desires, no wanting. And when you have no desires, no wanting, you also have no thoughts. Because all thoughts is nothing but an outcome of your wanting. So when the astral body gets activated, you are come into peace. When the mental body gets activated, you come into bliss. When the etheric body gets activated, which is the third energy body, you come into expanded awareness. Now you are aware of everything even beyond this wall. Your awareness could be to that extent that it can go to the farthest reach of the universe. It can go into the past lives. It can go into the future lives.
Yes, I'm using that as consciousness.
So this is awareness which people, not knowing what consciousness is, has merged that word into awareness. Consciousness is nothing but God. Only God has consciousness and King has only mind. When you go against God, you are having mind.
So either it's the God or King.
Yes, Father and Son.
Yeah.
The Son went against the Father and became pure mind.
So when I go into the mind, I am with the King.
Yes.
When I am with the awareness, I am with God.
No, you are still with the
I'm still
King.
with the King. We can't use awareness to reach God.
No, you cannot.
And the only way to reach God is the mantra.
It's the will of God.
Is the will of God.
You cannot even do the mantra unless God wills.
So that is also pre-written. If we
No, it is not pre-written.
the story.
Why would soul write a story in which it brings God in? So your coming to me is not a part of the storyline.
So sir, Pradip sir, can you explain that again? You said you coming to me is not part of story.
It's not a part of your storyline. No one comes to me because of their storyline. You came to me in spite of the fact it never existed in the storyline. And this is where the grace of God comes in, which looks for the gaps in the storyline and orchestrate events. Because storyline has many gaps. Why did they keep the gaps? Because they knew that there is a chance that the body-mind character will try to deviate out of the storyline and they have to be brought back into the storyline. So this gap was the portion where they do those corrections to bring the body-mind personality back into the storyline. Have you seen the movie Adjustment Bureau? You must see it. It shows how exactly the spirit is working, and it shows how the hero and the heroine are trying to break out of their storyline, and how the agents of the bureau are trying to bring them back into the storyline.
Matrix would be in that movie.
Huh?
Matrix also.
No, Matrix is again different. No, Matrix is not similar. Matrix basically comes from a place of human and machine. So Matrix is the machine has taken over the human and uses the human as a fodder. And there is a human which says, I want to break out of the machine, which means I want to break out of the program, which means it is seeking liberation. And yet it shows that there is the architect. Unless the architect wills, you cannot break out. And it shows within the architect there is a sub-program. What is that lady? She is the one who goes down the rabbit hole. I forgot that terminology they use, but basically it's also a program. And the architect writes that program in a very interesting way to see whether the program can free the human from the machine. So this is again different. The adjustment bureau is about storyline. You go out of the storyline, they bring you back into the storyline.
You told that for every storyline there are some gaps.
Yeah.
So how the gaps it is unique for every person.
Is it? Yeah. For some people have bigger gaps, some people have smaller gaps. And so when God comes into the picture, people who have bigger gaps, it is seen their life turns into, they have greater ease and peace in their life when they associate with God. People who have very small gaps, they struggle because God said, I will not touch your storyline. I'm waiting for the gaps to show up in order to give my grace to you and give you some ease and peace. And so different people have different experience being with God, which comes from whether you have a bigger gap or you have very small gap, whether you have multiple gaps or you have very few gaps.
Will it be possible with the small gaps also you can connect to the God?
You can connect, but then it is like, let's say for me, I never received anything from God as a part of God's gift. So I can never say to humans that, listen, when I associated with God, when I chose God, my life became 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 great things. No, nothing like that happened. Yet I am being with God, doing the work of God, spreading the message of God, talking to people about God. Why? Not because God gave me anything, but for me it was a great curiosity. Who is this guy? For me he is a guy. Who is this individual? And what is this thing happening between two individuals called God and King? So that curiosity keeps me going. And of course I have one more thing called, if I can bring some amount of relief to the humans, and somehow I find that God gives relief to the humans, but some humans feel God is not doing enough for them, so they leave God and go back to the King. So I always say, listen, I don't know what you will get, but try out God for 30 days. If you feel that God has served you more, choose God. If you feel the King has served you more, which means your religion and your spirituality has served you more, be with the King.
So what happens even if you go into the temple? How does it impact you, right? So if you have...
Yes, God is very clear. The temple connects you to the King.
Only based on the perception.
Not based on perception, based on the space. Based on the energies in the temple. You are entering into a space that is the space of the King. Now you will say, but I live in the world which is belonging to the King. Why particularly you take temple? Now that is a valid question. So God says you have to demonstrate that you have chosen me, and you give that demonstration in two ways. Number one, you are no more religious, no more connected with anything to do with religion. And number two, you are no more into spirituality, no more into any spiritual practice, no more with any guru, no more with any modality. So these are demonstrations of your choice, which means God is asking you to come out of your comfort zone in making that choice.
Is it comfort zone because it's very much programming?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The spirit is pushing you back into the temple, pushing you back into the spiritual domain, pushing you back to the guru, to the scriptures, to the practices, to the mantras. So coming out of these two comfort zones is a demonstration of you making the choice that I am now with God and not with the king, in spite of the fact that your body belongs to the king, your mind belongs to the king, you live in the world of the king.
But the demonstration doesn't have to be explicit, right? It is implicit, as in my mind, if I give
It has to be both, because again it is coming from the comfort zone. Listen, I have given it up within me, but I am still following it because the society is going to judge me. The society is going to be very critical of me, and I don't like that.
Or because we enjoy it or something, right?
You can enjoy. Now, sir, God is not against enjoyment. God says no problem in going to the marriage and enjoying the food. No problem dressing up and really dancing. Let's say I come from a place called Gujarat, and the Gujaratis these 9 days, they really love to dance around a deity and singing all the, what we call that as the devotional song, Garba. You know about Garba little bit, okay. So God says dance, but don't worship.
Dance but don't worship.
You love dancing, dance.
Yeah.
So, one more thing, are the gaps in the storyline proportionate to the karmic baggage?
No, nothing to do with the karmic baggage. It's more to do with they are anticipating that this body-mind character can deviate out of the storyline. That is the anticipation that puts in those what we call as the gaps.
So, Pradip sir, what about, so there are different forms of spirituality, right? There are some
Different forms of.
like Raja Yoga.
Okay, yes.
So, for example, Bhakti and Kriya Yoga is very much about, okay, processes, do this and Bhakti, right? But Raja Yoga is not about any form. It is only about transmission of divine source light into the heart. So, isn't that similar to what you are saying?
No.
No.
Basically, all are within the domain of the mind. Whether it is bhakti, and mind includes the heart. So
Mind includes the heart.
the heart is an aspect of the mind. So whether it is bhakti, whether it is seva, or whether it is meditation,
Yeah.
they all are coming from the mind, about the mind, and creating certain experiences in the mind.
Oh, it's not that the impurities in the heart cloud.
There is no such thing as impurity. There is only such things as the way you perceive life. If someone says that if you eat vegetarian food, you are going to be more pure, not necessarily. On the contrary, if you become totally vegetarian and totally vegan, you might harm your body because the body needs protein.
Yes. That is part, yes.
So basically, what is it that the body needs? It needs protein, it needs carbohydrate, it needs vitamins, it needs fat. And if the animal is giving it and if the plant is giving it, what difference does it make? No. The difference is that in one I am doing pap and in the other I am doing punya. But this thing called merit and sin is only existing in the conversation of a human. How do we know that? Because what is pop in India is not pop in America. That means it is culture based. And if it is culture based, then it has nothing to do with beyond the human realm. And if you are thinking that by doing punya or merit, I will go to heaven, which exists beyond the human realm, and within the human realm, One group says this is what is merit, another group says no, that is sin, this is merit, but the heaven is one. Now there is no congruency even as to what is merit and what is sin, which means these factors did not come in from the above. It came in within the culture, and it came in more to do with the ecosystem. In certain ecosystem, animal flesh is abundantly available. In certain ecosystems, plants are abundantly available. In certain ecosystem, fish is abundantly available.
It's definitely a belief system.
So it's all an ecosystem. It's all a part of the culture. It's all a part of what is available to nourish me. Nothing to do with sin and merit, and nothing to do with heaven and hell.
But one could make a choice based on what he feels good consuming.
How do you come to that thing called this is good and this is bad?
Only what feels better.
It's not feeling. It's about knowing my body is nothing but a mass of protein, carbohydrates, fats and minerals. And I need to put in certain amount daily into my body in order that my body keeps on replenishing my body. Now in my culture I grew up a non-vegetarian, and in my culture I grew up in total vegetarian. In this culture I grew up a total vegan. Well, whatever you grew up as, it's perfect. But if you have certain ideas, no one says don't follow it, but at least know they are only ideas.
So exactly, with the God's mantra, through the releasing protocons, can we create more gap in the storyline? But we cannot change the storyline, but can we create a more?
You cannot touch your storyline.
Okay.
You have no power to do it. It is not the will of God that you change your storyline. And of course the spirit doesn't want it. Neither God wants it nor the king wants it. Spirit is nothing but an aspect of the mind of the king.
But one thing you can definitely do is, so what I sense is strongly believe the storyline. Right? So the gripping of the storyline, and to say this is my storyline, it is happening to this. Somehow I'm bound within this 5 or 6 feet of mass and flesh, and it's happening to this. So that gripping can loosen, right? And when
It can only loosen if the spirit wills.
Yes, that's
You cannot loosen it.
yes.
All the spiritual people are trying to loosen it.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's my question actually. This is my
And
it's a-
maybe few big ones like Eckhart Tolle or whatever their names be, they have loosened it. But they did nothing to loosen it. Later on they took on things called mindfulness, living in the moment, power of the now, and all those things, as if you can also do what has happened to me.
So that is true. So then that's where the grace comes from. Right? So grace, where does the intention even come to it?
You call it grace, I call it pre-written in the storyline, manifested by the spirit.
So let's say if it is pre-written in the storyline, sir, will it come by itself?
It comes, again the spirit will decide. The spirit can make you work for 50 years and then deliver.
Okay.
The spirit can decide that you don't have to work anything and it will happen. The spirit can take you in the depths and depths of depression and suddenly lift you up.
But that we cannot. There is no
Again it is written in the storyline how it is going to manifest. 50 years of intense sadhana, or going down and coming up, or one day just waking up and it is there.
But when the spirit decides that a person is going down, there's nothing a person can do to go.
Nothing, you cannot do anything.
Nothing.
You can't necessarily say it's bad also, because you don't know what is at the end of that.
You do not know, maybe only this much only you are meant to go, or maybe you are meant to go another probably 100 feet.
Yeah.
And
That way.
We don't know. But if you are meant to go the 100 feet, you will go. Why? Because there is nothing in you to stop it. Neither life force, nor intentions, nor willpower. And what can your physical body do? And what can your mind do? And your programming of the personality, someone else is doing. You are not doing it. If you are doing it, okay, delete all the programs, let's see. Of course, people are now trying. All the neuro-linguistic programming and everything that they are trying to do in the world, starting with the neuro, they are saying we can reprogram the mind. But are they really able to do? No.
I think it's just an different experience.
A little bit of here and there they are able to do, and now it becomes a marketing package.
Yeah.
You know, in the 60s, one of the best program that came out was Silva Mind Control. Assumed to be very brilliant. But what is it basically? It says you come into the alpha state and learn to operate from the alpha state. But there are others who came and said, alpha is still on the top. Let's go to the theta state. And then the others came, they say, let's go right up to the delta without falling asleep. And from there we will create, which means we will create from nothing. No thought state. Maybe if you are doing it, I am not denying it, but can you replicate it among 7 billion people?
But is there a state which is uniform like that, called as the no thought state?
It can happen if the spirit wants it to happen. I am not saying that state doesn't exist, but does the spirit want it for you is the question.
And that would be the exploration.
Maybe you will explore, or maybe like me you will say, if it is in my storyline, it will happen, let me enjoy my life.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit in meditation for 10 hours.
But what is it, Pradip sir? So one difference I have seen is that when I'm not talking about temples, but there are some places which are very consecrated. And when I go to those places, let's say the spirit is saying, you have to go through these depths of depression. And when I go to those consecrated places, there is a little bit of relief in how I feel.
You see, every consecrated places also have spirits which maintains the energy, heightened energy in those places.
Yes.
And when you enter into that realm,
Yes.
if it is a part of your storyline, it will totally transform you.
Yes. Yes.
And you will come out as a different person.
Absolutely.
If it is a part of your storyline that you will only have an experience as long as you are there, but you may come out as the same person that entered. And it could be also so that you will enter into that place and experience nothing and come out and say, but there was nothing, I entered and came out.
So there's nothing wrong with going to consecrated places then?
There is nothing wrong. We are never talking about right and wrong.
No, but you're not, but we had talked about that the temple is still,
I said that God says demonstrate your choice by entering into an uncomfortable zone, and the two uncomfortable zone God has chosen is religion and spirituality. Every spiritual place and every religious rituals. It's already bogging your mind?
Yeah. I just read a book called
Siddhartha,
by Herman
which is kind of Buddha's story, but without mentioning Buddha.
Yeah, and actually it is about this young boy Siddhartha, which is Buddha, and he goes with his closest friend Govinda in terms of search for liberation, right? And he meets Buddha. He actually meets Buddha, and Govinda decides to stay back with him. And Buddha looks at him and he says, I don't want to stay. And then he asks, why do you not want to stay? He says, if I stay, that means I'm still choosing to follow your teaching, but you're not teaching me your experience of enlightenment, which is what I want. He says that and he walks away. And Buddha blesses him. And then he goes through a whole life of lust and joy and just luxury and opposite to complete. It's actually this is exactly what you're talking about.
You see, it's made from the book only.
It's actually exactly what he's talking about. That
you see, this guy called Siddharth says, I don't want to stay with you because I don't want your teachings, I want your experience.
Yes, that's what
okay.
He says,
Now, he assumes going through the extreme of pleasure will make him free from wanting pleasure. That is his assumption. but you cannot become free from pleasure unless it is in the storyline and the spirit manifests it. And you may just be sitting in the room and you will become totally free from your wanting of pleasure without going into any kind of pleasures. These are all the narratives created by the writers. No one knows how Buddha became enlightened. But the narrative says that this person went through 7 years of exploration and finally became so weak that even crossing a creek, which means a very small river, he didn't have the life force to do it. He fell down. Someone took care of him, gave milk or whatever. And when he regained some energy, he went and sat near a tree. Under the tree he sat and decided, I will not get up till I become enlightened. And then he became enlightened, and that tree became known as the Bodhi tree. Okay? Now my question is, for 7 years you practiced enlightenment. Why didn't you wake up at that point of time? Was the Bodhi tree special, or was your meditation different?
The meditation is
Meditation is different? Where did the different meditation come from? He knew every meditation that was possible, because every teacher was teaching their way. He just sat and said, I am not going to get up. So the narrative says no one knows actually what happened. You see, every narrative was never written by the person who went through it. Someone much later wrote it. The Bible was not written by Jesus. It was written much later. Quran was not written by Muhammad. It was written by his general and the caliphs. So none of the books were ever written by those whose name says they are the source of those books. Who knows what they were talking? And do you really need these thick books to tell a guy that what his message is? It has to be 1 or 2 pages at the most. So maybe after I die, someone will write very thick book. But the point is, what is my teaching? Listen, there is one king, there is one God. The God says, the king is causing all your pain and suffering. If you come to me and try me out, let me then decide how much I am going to give you. And after 30 days, you decide that whatever I have given you, is it worth choosing me? If you find it is not worth it, go back to the king. My message ends. You don't even need 1 page. 1 small para and everything is done.
So how do you, when people, because this is very non-conventional.
You want something more non-conventional, I'll give you. God says there are 2 kinds of creation. One real, one unreal. Everything the king creates is unreal. Everything God creates is real. What is the difference between the real creation and unreal creation? Real creation, once created, doesn't need anything to sustain itself. It sustains on its own till eternity. Unreal creation needs life force to sustain itself, and it diminishes over a period of time and space. Over a period of time. Which means the sun that we have is unreal. There is no sun. Planet Earth, which has 2/3 water, 1/3 land, is unreal. Planet Earth is real. But there is no water in planet Earth. There are no trees in planet Earth. There is no you and me in planet Earth. And from where are we seeing those waters and trees and forests? Because the king is dreaming, and it shows up in that dream, and it shows up in our dream.
So how does it feel if you wake up from the...
You will never wake up. So don't ask that question, how does it feel? Even after liberation, no one has woken up. They're in another dream. Their dream is what you know now. How do I spiritually progress?
Yeah.
They don't have the suffering of flesh and blood, but their wanting to progress itself creates their suffering, because they find beyond that they are not able to go, and they know there is a higher reality, and they will be stuck there till the king wants.
Oh, got it. So until they connect with God, they are evolving, but they are still playing around within
Exactly, you are in the same dream.
the dream. It's
Spiritual.
a different. It's a different.
Even Shiva is stuck in that dream.
Yeah, it's just different kinds of dreams. We think we're progressing, but
So in that dream, Shiva was sent to planet Earth as a human in order to teach the humans how you can become free from the dream. But the king had no intention of Shiva succeeding. Whatever Shiva gave as a knowledge of whatever we call religion or spirituality, because it was Shiva who came as Jesus, it was Shiva who came as thought, it was Shiva who came as Krishna, Rama. It was the same guy who keeps on incarnating.
yeah,
But what the king wanted through Shiva was that you bind the humans into religion and spirituality. Shiva thought that he was going to free the humans, and he was deeply disappointed that his teachings couldn't free the humans.
Is king is that much powerful than the Shiva?
Of course, king is much more powerful than Shiva. Shiva has no power. Only the little that king gave him.
So Pradip sir, if Vedas were written 2 lakh years BC, it is the biggest son of
Who said that?
Dharma, right?
Who said it is written 2 lakh years BC?
1500. Some is a big.
It is just said it is written 4,000 to 5,000 years back.
BC before Christ.
No, right from right now. From now, 4,000 to 5,000 years back it is written. And it's written by a group of nomads who couldn't live into their place because they ran out of resources. They started coming towards the fertile land. And in this place, the primary objective was their livestock should remain intact. So they started praying to the non-physicals with whatever name they gave, Indra, Varuna, whatever they be, in order that they have materialistic wealth. So they learned the art of pleasing the gods. But at that point of time, pleasing the gods was easier because the veil was thin. Today the veil is very thick. You can't use those Vedic mantras in order to please the gods.
Because they say Nam Jap at the end of the day at least is the way to connect with God.
No, you are thinking it is raising your vibration. And because your vibration is raised, you will be able to connect with the gods whose vibrations are high. You are assuming if you elevate your vibrations, you will be able to connect with the gods because they are in a higher vibrations. No,
The logical mind.
that is the logical mind.
Yeah.
You forgot the spirit. The spirit decides whether you will be able to connect or not. And if the spirit says you will be able to connect, you can be totally tamasic. And yet you will have that connection and you will be able to communicate.
So is there any possibility to replace the spirit of one?
Replace the spirit,
Replace the spirit.
Influence.
Replace.
I asked, can you co-create with the spirit?
no,
No.
not possible.
So co-creating with the universe, that's all.
Co-creating is a farce till such time spirit wants you to play that game and wants you to have fun in that game. To that extent you will be able to co-create.
Can you repeat that? So,
Spirit will decide to what extent you can co-create, to what extent you can have fun in the co-creation game. You cannot go beyond that. And if the spirit decides you are going to be a teacher of co-creation, maybe you will use word like law of attraction and you will become very successful.
like
But it is, it
we
is,
talk about how can you think about what you want and it will happen at this time. That's the whole teaching.
exactly.
Yeah. It's because it is their experience and their spirit allowed them to do it. But it's not necessary that it will happen to others who they teach. That part is missing.
Have you heard of a program called Landmark Forum?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Popular amongst all the new age.
When it was being created,
Yeah.
the way they were working, They were trying to create the technology. And what was the bottom line of the technology is going into the future, creating a future and bringing back that future into the present.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
That was the whole technology
Correct.
of landmark education. How did they do it? They said, first go into the basic course. What is basic course about? Understand you are nothing but a machine and you have no free will. That is the first part. The second part, they take you into the advanced course. What is advanced course? Completing your past and creating a future. But you will create a future from the future not given by the past. And that is where people made all kind of mistakes. It's like, if I have no friendship, I am creating a future that who I am is friendship. If I have no love in my life, I am creating a future called who I am is love.
Yeah.
But the technology says you cannot create it from your past. You have to go into the future and create a future not given by the past.
But not also from the present.
Not also from the present. Your present is nothing but the past recreating itself. But everyone was doing that, including me.
So there is no present if we leave the past behind.
Present is only an awareness of this is what my past is.
Yeah, sure. But with that awareness, from that no thoughts, you can create a
It's no thoughts, it's full of thoughts. It could be images, it could be feelings.
You know, what I'm saying is one could be in that space free of the past thoughts.
You
and memories.
cannot be, then you are in a place of peace.
Yeah. So from the place of peace, can we not create future?
You don't want to create a future.
I see.
Sorry.
I see. That is the true state of present.
You are now the observer. The observer doesn't want to create a future and recreate the present. It's only observing.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
So coming into the landmark technology, the advanced course, you create a future from the future not given by the past, but everyone is creating a future there given by the past. And then they bring you to the final program. The final program is establishing the future that you have created as your current reality through community projects.
Yeah.
Which means you take this future into the community, into the hearing of the people, and create a relationship with people given by this new you that you have created, in order that your world reflects back the new you.
Yes.
So that is how they created the whole landmark forum curriculum.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Joe Dispenza in San Diego, he has another methodology. They built an institute now where he says you can feel into what future you want, and with visualization and feeling it through, you can recreate that future right now or manifest it. Right
So he is assuming that feelings and images are stronger than thoughts. That is his assumption.
Yes.
Okay? So he says that you cannot create a new current reality because you are thinking about it. You have to feel it and you have to imagine it.
He says that the coherence of the universe is a vibration, and the vibration can only be felt and not be thought. So thought is
So
not.
he is assuming that the universe has a vibration.
Yes.
But in a dream, there is no vibration.
This totally makes logical sense now.
In a dream, whether it is your dream or the dream of the king, there is no such thing as vibration. There is no substance. There is nothing real. Because God says there is no sun. You are assuming there is a sun. God says the planet is not rotating. You are assuming it is rotating. God says the planet is not going around the sun. You are assuming it is going around the sun. Everything is nothing but a dream of the king, and you are also believing that, and you are creating laws around that. You are creating hypotheses. You are creating all kind of evidence that see how real this dream is.
So Pradip sir, one commonality I've seen among spiritual people or gurus is they also say this, that there is no planet, this is just a projection.
Yeah, they say it because it is in our scriptures where they say everything is Brahman.
Yes.
And Brahman is nothing but the mind of the highest individual.
Yes. So they're referring to the mind of the king
Yes.
because they're still tapped into that storyline.
But you will say 2 hours of discussion or whatever this be, in then how do I live? Because we still have to live. So I tell people, listen, you have only 2 things to choose from. One you have already chosen by default. Try out the other for 30 days. If this one delivers more, be with that. If the one you are with by default delivers more, be with that. Because there isn't much now you can do. Your storyline you have to go through. You have to live till you die.
Come to a real crossroad now.
And events will happen whether you like it or not. So someone can say, sir, you could have said this right in the beginning. Why go through 2-3 hours and come then saying it? But I said it in the beginning also.
But now it makes more sense.
No, it makes sense because it is actually explaining the whole thing in a unified way. If you don't say this, actually, it's very impractical to kind of connect. This
Yeah, but does that leave him with greater power to say no to the wife?
But still, that's a choice.
It is not a choice. It's the what spirit is going to force you.
So that is the reason I'm asking that, can you influence the spirit?
So, in the end, I don't know how you will live. I don't know how you will live. I don't know even how I'm going to live. I just know that this moment I could have this conversation. Next moment we don't know. Because many of us are collapsing, many of us are dying. And they were perfectly alright 1 second back. And this is the reality of life.
Then what about all the humanitarian things of love?
There is a good time pass. Very good time pass, and people come and say, should we do it? I say, yes, do it wholeheartedly. Why? Because what else would you do? You will go into the business and make more money. You will go and read more books and gather more knowledge, and you will get more certificate. If that is what you love, go and do that. But since this is what you are enjoying, continue with this. If Mother Teresa was enjoying taking care of those who are not so fortunate, well, that is the perfect thing to do. If that inspires you, go into that, join the institute or start your own institute.
So you're saying just do whatever is inspiring you.
Do whatever is inspiring you, that's all. And if nothing inspires you, well, go into those reels that you have created. And they have interesting time pass. Their life is not interesting, but those reels are interesting. Those shorts are interesting. And the new venture that you have, you're going to create something more interesting maybe. And again, it's a matter of your storyline, that the spirit allows you to succeed or not. And then whether you will be able to market it or not, whether you will be able to monetize it or not. It's all about what the spirit is deciding. But spirit is deciding based on a pre-written script. It has no will of its own.
Is the storyline for you to do all these things?
No, it is not.
It's not
No.
against
It goes against my storyline.
So can we go against the storyline, sir?
If it is the will of God.
If it's the will of God. When there's a gap in the storyline and when the grace comes in.
How do you know?
The gap.
You cannot. God needed me for a work, so God kind of hacked my storyline. But for common people whom God doesn't need, God doesn't hack their storyline.
So then when God hacks the storyline, that means the karmic structure changes.
Karmic structure changes, the way that person thinks changes,
How, yeah, understood.
the spirit has less say in the life of that person.
One cannot wish for that.
No, you cannot wish. It is the will of God that decides it.
Yeah, what you have explained, this whole methodology is least attractive and interesting, so more people will get the regular work.
Of course, they will want to. For them, Joe is the more attractive person. For them, so we have this Esther Hicks, the Abraham, the one who is sourcing. We have currently Eckhart Tolle. We have Byron Katie. And we have others, Adyashanti. So they are the more interesting people because they are giving us a dream. Listen, you can do, and you can become free of whatever is holding you, gripping you.
So, but to some extent, when someone is starting off, that intellectual hold is also useful to get to a certain point. Otherwise, this means.
But if you look into it, you are getting nowhere. You are only getting into a point where you are frustrated with that teaching and coming out of that teaching.
Or you're just following it for life and you are frustrated.
Again, it is a matter of your storyline. If the storyline reveals how that teaching really has no substance, then you see it. But if the storyline makes you fall in love with that person, you wouldn't want to see how shallow the teachings are. That person is now more important for you. There are many people who are into organizations not because of the teaching of the Guru, but because of their relationship with the Guru.
Yes. So, is one better over the other?
It's not a question of which is better. It's just that what holds you there. Your love for a person holds you there. Your wanting to serve that person holds you there. Your wanting to contribute to his work holds you there.
Yeah.
This is not about right and wrong. In the world of dream, how can anything be right and wrong? But yes, there are consequences.
But anyway, there is no free will. So the
Yes, there is no,
consequences are
because consequences are also part of the storyline.
correct. So the consequences are not something which a person is choosing.
No, it is not choosing. It is being imposed on you.
Yeah. So the mantras given by the gurus, even that connects you to the king.
All mantras given by the gurus connects you only with the king,
I see.
because it is the will of the king.
I see.
The mantra given by God connects you with God because it is the will of God. Nothing to do with the mantra.
And when we chant the mantra, Pradip sir, it's sometimes when thoughts come in, that's okay.
That's okay.
We
Yes.
just
You just mechanically complete 21 times.
mechanically is okay. Sir.
Yes.
It's
You
not
don't need feelings.
feelings, thoughts, nothing.
Thoughts will come, you continue and complete 21 times. So thoughts are also going on, your chanting is also going on. 21 times done, over. No feelings needed, no empty mind needed, nothing like anything can contaminate it.
Why sir is it like that clearly decided for 21 times?
Again, will of God. God said 21, we do it 21. Anything God says, there is no why, just follow.
Yeah.
So we have to now go to another program.
Thank you, Pradip. Yes.
It was fun being with you.
Yes. Same.